What up, y'all? It's Mr. 6'8" back at you with another live video. I am here. We are at a seat at the table. My part 1 series of the misconception of a bisexual male. And let me change this camera, child, because this camera is bugging me. Hold on a second. Hold on. There we go. That's much like it. Boom. 'Cause I was feeling some kind of way. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's the matter? Had to get my life together. I had to get my life together. So I would like to welcome to the panel silent artist up in the right hand corner next to me. And then you got the official D
Hello,
Star in the
everyone.
house. Yes, come on through, y'all. One time, one time. And y'all don't mind me. I'm just sitting here trying to spread the word now that I have finally gone live. So bear with me for a quick 30 seconds here. Make this real quick. So we gonna get on out y'all hair tonight because we know people got things to do
Mhm.
and people to see. All right. All right, there we go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start here. So once again, this is the misconception of a bisexual male part 1 series featuring silent artist and D Star, some of my favorite people in the house, and I'm so excited. Oh my God. Let me get in here and toast my non-ass alcoholic beverage because y'all know I can't drink. Y'all know
You
I'm on
so bad.
the AA binge.
I'm so
All
tired.
right, all right. So we'll go ahead and start right on here. So tonight we wanted to come to y'all to share, to talk about a couple of things when it comes to the misconception of a bisexual male. What exactly does that mean, first off? The misconception of a bisexual male. Does anyone care to tell me what do you get from that when you hear that?
That
Take
is a
me on.
phase.
It's a phase. Okay. All right. It's a phase. I definitely agree
That
with that.
how can a man be bisexual? That's just the question. How can a man be bisexual?
Yes.
That right
Come
there.
through one time. Yes, all of that. All of that. All of that. How can a man be bisexual? And that's the question that, I used to feel. I'm not gonna lie, I used to feel that way a lot. How can a man be bisexual? Because I was like, there's no way impossible that a man, first of all, can even be bisexual and want to like women. This is how I felt prior to me being bisexual. Now, like you talking about 7 years ago. So, I felt
Mhm.
like, how can this be possible that someone can feel this way, feel, the like men and the like women all at the same time? But it is very possible though. And that's one thing that I've had to learn myself as I have grown into the man that I've become. So with that being said, we just gonna sit here and jump right on into it. So I took a couple of notes because I wanted to keep us on track here. So I'm gonna first share my story. Um, go first because the first part that I wanted to jump into was how did we all become to who we are today? Like, and I know that, we have like a good solid hour because like I said, we all have, things and whatnot, going on after this. But I wanted to get into briefly here of how we all became who we are today. So with myself, how I became as far as when it comes to Tristan, Mr. 6'8", the bisexual male. I tell people all the time, I didn't start off as a gay man. I started off I started off basically as a guy that grew up in the Baptist church. I was afraid to come out with my sexuality because of the fact that I was worried about what people think. I was so worried about pleasing my family. Like it was all about, as far as trying to please someone else. So I was worried about as far as perception. So I had girlfriends back in high school. My first girlfriend, we dated in middle school. I had my first kiss. And then fast forward on to high school, I had my first girlfriend. Well, I won't really call it a girlfriend. We more like was I guess you could say, an on and off thing of this drama, like that puppy love, you think you're in love kind of stuff, but it developed eventually into love. And then eventually, as time went on, as I got out of high school and transitioned into college, I, met the first guy that I had my sexual experience with. We was at Lowe's, and I never will forget, he was standing on a ladder, and I was in there trying to find some damn letters for a mailbox because I had just moved. And I looked up at him, and he looked down at me, and all I can say is on that night, on that fateful night of December the 13th, 2007, time at about 11:30 at night, it was raining. Some magic happened in the air, and I woke up a new man. Is all I can sit here and say. And from that point on, I mean, it just was what it was.
I'm dead.
I woke up as a man that now here it is. I guess you could say I like dick. So you just can call it is what it is. So as I went through that transition, dealt with that guy. We had a whole, as far as drama thing going on back and forth. And it wasn't really a relationship because you know how you meet the first person that you have sex with, you think you in love, you think you just completely just done lost your damn mind. You up here damn buying cars and houses and shit, cell phone
Mm-hmm.
bills, putting people on your credit, fucking up credit and shit. You know, the whole nine yards. And that's basically how I was. So it took me going through that, and it took me going through a couple more, I guess you could say, do-overs in that department. And then I circled back around to dating. Well, I wouldn't really call it dating. I met this female in church about 3 years ago. Out of nowhere, 50-something-year-old female, my ass probably about 28. And it was crazy because of the fact that I'm just like, out of nowhere, I'm minding my own business, and I meet her at Bible study out of
How
all
old was she
places.
again?
She was
How old
50.
was
She
she?
was she was 50. Look what y'all. She was 50 years old. She was 50 years old. She was 50 years old, and
A
I was,
cougar.
Yep, a whole cougar.
yes, she was 50 years old, and I was, I was a little young, a little young thing, a little 28-year-old, boy. And needless to say, we hit it
Uh-uh.
off. We became we became good friends, and I mean, one thing led to another, and all I can say is that love happened. And I won't really say love happened. It just happened. Oh, you know what? You know what it was? She had characteristics that I saw in myself, and somehow we just, because you know how when you spend so much time around a person, you end up somehow developing, like, a bond with them or feelings and stuff. So I think it was more like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so we just, we spent a
Hmm.
lot of time. We spent a lot of time with each other. She ended up helping me, when I went through my drug rehab phase, which is like a whole nother situation. But I went through a drug rehab phase. She helped me, like, go through that. So it just was like, she just was like, my savior. And somehow, one fateful night, we ended up, and this is during the time that I was roommating with her because I was going through issues or whatever, jumping from home to home like a
Mm-hmm.
lost puppy. And, she let me roommate with her. And we did some things, and I just woke up a new man. And I realized that you're not as gay as you think you are. And that just was pretty much how I came into this, position that I am in now, realizing that this whole time you are what the one thing you despise saying that you would never be, which is why I said I would never be bisexual. I said I would never be versatile. I ended up being just that. And that's the God honest truth. So that's kind of what happened in a gist of how I came to this point of being the bisexual male that I am, was because it took a cougar to turn me back around and open my eyes up literally to
Ciao.
see the light.
They say you learn something new every day.
Yep, sure do,
Yeah,
girl.
well, that was, look, that was my
Cause
that
I
was my
ain't know
learning
all that.
experience.
I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, that was my learning experience. So with that being said, that was my kind of, my version of how I came into becoming the man that I am today as far as a bisexual male. So who else? How, if you again, when you want to take it on first, you're more than welcome to. As far as what was your journey? I guess you could say, like, if you could, like, go back 10 years ago, I guess maybe, or at the point that you realize that you start going through changes to come to, being a bisexual male.
D, you can go.
Just as we spoke last night, in the interview with Jasmine, for me, I
Mhm.
thought it was the norm. I
Okay.
thought having sex with a male or female was of course, being introduced to porn at a young age. I didn't realize that there was a difference till I hit high school.
Mm,
So then I was like, oh, okay, so I fall in the bisexual category.
mm.
So, but for me, it was just the norm. So it was natural. It was nothing different. So I just continued that throughout my life.
Okay, so I got a question to ask. So it was porn. Your experience was watching porn. So, because I know you touched on it
Yes.
last night, but for those that may not have, as far as excuse me, followed last night, so that um would you say that it was, as far as what you, so you saw something on there that intrigued you, that say, okay, this turns you on. You felt different things within your body, is what I'm trying to get at, that made you feel like, okay, hey, maybe this is something that, like, is that how you came into, like, the space of realizing that you like men and
Well,
women?
my highlight coming up was the orgasm side. I was fascinated with orgasms. So rather it
Okay.
was male or female.
Okay.
So
You fascinated.
yeah, that's how I came into that. So, and
Okay.
I found that as I got older to make sure that I did a good job to making either or orgasm.
Ah, all right then. Well, let the church say amen with my being saying that, because that kind of got me a little, honey, I
Y'all
felt
stupid.
some lemonade.
A mess.
Mm,
And for
okay.
me, it wasn't different because I never shared my relationship with the female. If I had sex with a female, nobody knew. Because when I had a girlfriend, my girlfriend never went to school I went to. They always
Okay.
went to a different. The guys I put on with, whether they was on sports or not, I didn't disclose that because what I feel like for me was done in the bedroom is done in the bedroom. That's between you and that individual, and it's nobody's business.
Right. Right. Definitely
Mhm.
understood. And that's how I was. I've always been raised that way too, where I feel like, hey, what you do behind closed doors is your business. Like, that doesn't define you. That's just one part of you, and that just is what it is. Okay. That's very interesting. So, Silent, how did you become the, Debbie Cakes bisexual male
I'm
that you
dead.
are today?
I'm dead. Here he goes, girl. Here he goes. Um, so I'm new to the whole thing. So when I was growing up,
Okay.
I was always bullied and called gay, and you're this, you act like a girl, blah 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 blah. So I didn't even
Mm,
know really what that was at the time, because I was probably like, when I first heard that, I was probably in first grade. So in first grade, you
okay.
really don't know what the hell that is. So you're like, what's
Right.
gay? And then
What's that?
you don't know what it is, but you know it's not a good thing because people are laughing at you. So
Mm,
you internalize that. So, but I always was attracted to women, or attracted to girls, and all of that. So that never changed throughout my life. Um, but when I got to, probably around high school is when it really started, where I was like, yeah, I actually am attracted to men as well. But
mm,
I didn't know the term bisexual at all. So I didn't even know that bisexual was even a thing. So I didn't really find out that term until probably the end of high school, and
mm.
I was still fumbling through, even putting that label on myself, being like, because
Right.
at that time I didn't talk to anybody really. I had a best friend that we dated for like a week or so. Um, and then that ended a week. We just ended up just staying friends, and we're still friends
Mhm.
to this day as well. Um,
Mhm.
so I didn't really have a lot of relationship experience in the first place, so I didn't know if I
Right.
could even categorize myself as bisexual because of me not having as many experiences dating. Period, and sexually, I wasn't
Right.
doing anything yet at all either. So, probably around college time, I understood like my first year in college, I decided and went through it and was like, yeah, I can consider myself bisexual. Uh,
Okay.
and one, I want to say this as well. One misconception about bisexuality is that just because you have not had sexual relations or romantic relationships with one gender or each gender, that does not discount your bisexuality. I just want to say that
Right.
as well.
So I think that's a good okay, so I think that's a good point that you mentioned there. Just because you have not had sexual relations with one or the other gender does not count, does not as far as count as far as you not being bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I definitely can agree with that because I do feel that there's people out there who they have yet to, I guess, explore certain things. Like I said, with myself, I didn't even know that I was, even though I felt like it was always in me. But the reason why I said I didn't even realize I was because of the fact that I had this mental block that I was so worried about being seen as a confused person because people that that looks at a bisexual male, especially when you look at it from a heterosexual woman standpoint, just from
Mm-hmm.
what I've, as far as experience and heard from other females, is that, they're like, well, ew, I'm not, I don't want to sit here and talk to a man that's doing another man or a man that's had sex with another man. Like it's always those things that I hear from a female whenever it comes to, as far as a man that has been with another man, whether it's a gay man or a bisexual man. That's the first thing that I hear from a lot of females.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that being said, I think I think that's a really good. I like that perspective. That's a really good perspective because of the fact that I never really thought about that you can still be considered bisexual without necessarily having an experience. Like an experience does not define you being bisexual. I need to
Yeah,
take note of that. That was
and I
that was a good nugget.
say that because sexual wise, I've only been with a man, with men
Hmm.
sexually, but
Okay.
that doesn't.
Okay.
But I still haven't had the experience of being with a woman yet. But that's not out of the question for me. That's still something I would still. That's like not going to stop my being attracted, sexually attracted, and emotionally attracted to women. It's just not going to stop that. So that's why I
Okay.
said that.
Okay. So I think that's a great segue into the next part of our topic, which is tearing down stigmas of a bisexual male or the misconceptions of a bisexual male. So whenever you think of tearing down stigmas of a bisexual male, do you start what are some of the things that you feel like are stigmas attached to being a bisexual male?
One is you get this a lot of that you being greedy, that there's nobody left. So as far as okay, yeah, I want to be with both parties.
Okay.
That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I agree. I agree.
Personally, again, when I was female, I was with a female, and when I was with a guy, I was with a guy. I didn't cross the two.
Okay. And that's something that I'm glad you brought
And
up.
the other myth, uh-huh,
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
done. Go
You
ahead.
good. So I just was gonna say, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that I always tell people, and this is just from my perspective when I say this, is that I've always told people if I'm dating a female at the particular time, meaning that if I'm dating a female getting to know a female, then I'm not talking to that female and other men at the same time. I'm just focusing strictly on that female. That's just is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. If that's the lane that I'm in at the time, that's the lane that I'm in at the time, because of the fact that, I'm not trying to be looked at. Like I said, it's already bad enough that people, of a bisexual status is looked at or looked down upon as being that of someone, who is confused, who just want to have their cake and eat it too. So I'll make it be known that, hey, if I'm getting to know you, whether you a man or woman, I'm getting to know you, and that's it, period. There's no like me going back and forth, me saying being with this person one day. No, we're not doing it. Even with a man, if I'm like exclusively getting to know a man, like if I'm focused on like, hey, I'm getting to know this person, I'm getting to know that person. I'm not going back and forth because I just feel like that, I don't want to be seen as that person. Because there's enough stereotypes, and quite sure we can all agree in our own cities that we live in, there's already enough stereotypes of people going around here wanting to have the whole entire world, at their,
Mm-hmm.
as far as on their plate, ready to sit here and have whatever. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I definitely do feel like that, that's one of the things that people, looks at when it comes to, stigmas attached to a bisexual male. So Silent, with that being said, what would you say would be a stigma or misconception attached to being
One misconception I can think of that often comes around a lot. This is just bisexual people. Period. The whole fact that some people believe that bisexual means that we couldn't be attracted emotionally or sexually to trans men or women, and that they think that is transphobic. But we can talk about that later when we talk about the difference between pansexual and bisexual. Because
Mhm. So you speaking, so you okay, so you hold on, repeat that. So you're speaking from the as far as from the transphobic part when
yes,
it comes to okay.
because when it was first when this bisexual was first created, it was the genders. I
Hmm.
respect you for your gender that you identify as. So if you're a trans woman, respect you as a woman. So that means I'm
Hmm.
attracted to you as a woman. And if you're a
Right,
man, you're a trans man. I respect you as a man.
right,
So the fact that you're trans, either way, doesn't
right.
matter.
Doesn't
So
matter.
that's a
I definitely
that's a misconception about bisexuality.
Yeah, and I definitely do, agree with that as well, because, my thing, and that's something that I've also, went back and forth with, which we will touch with that topic when it comes to, I have it on the list here of
Mm-hmm.
trans, as far as, well, not trans, but the bisexual comparison with the pansexual, because I hear it a lot. Like when I first came onto, the live, as far as with Chi Chi's live. Um, and we was, just having a discussion amongst ourselves. I heard people throwing around the word pansexual, and so, that was one of the things that I also wanted to put on the, list of things to talk about, because I was like, I was like bisexual, pansexual. I was like, it's a lot of ways to look at it, because of the fact that, when you think of pansexual, you think of, okay, a person is attracted to a person's energy, and you think of bisexual, you think, okay, it's just a matter of a woman and a man. But if a trans technically is considered to be a woman, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just that's it, and a trans man is considered to be a man, then what will be left in the middle to be clarified as a pansexual? Like, is the word pansexual is that even needed? So I'm gonna put a thumbnail in that here real quick. But the other thing that I wanted to touch on when it comes to um, the other thing that I want to touch on when it comes to being bisexual is that I wanted to, my main objective for, as far as the huge misconception around being bisexual, I would say is definitely, it is, I feel like it, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like it lays more on the, from a female perspective side, when you think of bisexual rather than, because you hear of men dating bisexual men all the time. However, a female, heterosexual female, trans even, you don't really hear. I mean, I would say trans, you might hear more of it than a heterosexual, cisgender born female, but especially with the heterosexual, you know, cisgender born female, you don't hear of a female dating I'm sorry, not pan, but a bisexual man. And
Mm-hmm.
so my biggest thing, as far as with I feel like that if you really was to think of, what's one of the biggest misconceptions of it, I would definitely have to say that, it all goes back to the women as far as looking at it as a bisexual male as just a complete gay man, because they feel like that once you cross the threshold, and this is not to say for all women, this is just to say for, just like I said, some of the women that I just came across just from
Mm-hmm.
experience, that once you cross that threshold, that's it. Like there's no going back, as far as
Yeah.
there's like no,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's no, oh, he's straight, he's just definitely gay. Even with the heterosexual man, they feel like once you've crossed that threshold and you mess with a guy, they feel like, oh, that just is what it is. There's no, oh, this man is bisexual, he's just a gay man. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the biggest things that my that I want people to understand, is that all of us, that are sitting here, I feel like that we've all, come from different backgrounds as far as to that has made us who we are, into the man today that we are when it comes to being a bisexual male. However, I don't think, once again, I don't think that sexuality, should play a part as far as when it comes to who you're sleeping with, to define, as you as being, this person that is just only one solely one thing, because of the fact that there's such a stigma with just being gay, period. As far as people are like, oh, if you're gay. That means that you have no attraction to women, no matter, as far as whether you cross that threshold, go back, no matter what, you've always earned that title as being gay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is seen to me in people's eyes.
Yeah.
So I
Especially if,
definitely, yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but especially if you are a bisexual man that is more on the feminine side, they're going to
right,
automatically put you into the gay category and say that this is a phase for you. Gay men will say that to you, especially if you're more feminine. They'll say that this is more of a phase for you. You're going to end up turning, just going to end up turning gay
right.
sooner than later, which is not true, and it's also very biphobic to say that.
That that is definitely true. And Mark,
Hmm.
I see Mark Chung posted
Well,
this
and
here.
right before we get to that, let me add to that. We get that from cisgender women, and we get from gay men.
Hmm.
They look at bisexuals like we're confused, and for guys in this community, that be get,
Hey, New Star,
and it
I,
shouldn't.
hold on. I think you're breaking up.
Huh?
I think you're breaking up a little bit. Go
Oh,
try to go back out and come back in.
all right. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so while he's going, I also want to talk about the whole bisexual phase part of it all.
Hmm.
So now bisexuality is not a phase, but especially since we were talking about like our uh learning about our sexual orientation and how we became bisexual. I want to talk about the phases of bisexuality, which is like the first phase, which is questioning yourself on your sexuality,
Hmm.
questioning everyone else. Um, then you're labeling yourself according to social norms. Then after that, it's the
Hmm.
fear and embarrassment of it all. Uh, then the second to last phase is understanding your feelings about it. And
Right.
then lastly is the acceptance, and then putting it into practice.
Putting into practice.
Yeah.
So I definitely do like the way you put that, especially when you mentioned the fear and embarrassment of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you say, as far as that, you go through a phase of feeling fear and embarrassment of being a bisexual male? Is it because of the fear of, because I know for me, I would say that my fear would be because of the fact of being afraid that I would never be taken serious as a man that can date a woman. I think that would be my biggest thing when it comes to the fear.
Probably. What really was it? Uh, Mine's was not the same as you. The whole aspect of being able to date a woman still.
Mhm. Mhm.
That. Um, then the fear of I might end up alone for the rest of my life because this is a thing that people don't understand. So
Mhm.
I
Right.
don't know how it's gonna end up because either from if I'm talking to a man who's gay, he's gonna think it's just a phase,
Mhm.
and not, and um, we'll talk about this later as well, when it comes to bi erasure and biphobia, but and then with women as well, you're not gonna. Some women, like if you tell a woman that you're bi from the get go, they're gonna automatically throw you to the side. So
Okay. I like that part. And D Star is back with us. What was you going to say, D Star, before you left? Again, if you could repeat that for me.
That the B is overlooked in the community.
Hmm.
Many
yeah.
times they look at us saying, "Oh, we're confused. We don't know which side of the fence we want to be on." But like I always tell them, ever since we even add Q to the LGBTQ on two sides, that B is can't get one side or the other side without the B.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. I definitely do. I definitely do agree with
I'll
that.
let that sit in for a minute.
Yeah, it's something to think about, and that's something that I definitely do agree with you. The B in LGBT is definitely overlooked. Like when you think of LGBT, you are not thinking of the bisexual. You're definitely thinking of lesbian. You're thinking of gay, and you're thinking of trans, but you don't think of the bisexual part. So that is
And even
something
with trans,
that I like.
we're just now starting to get and understand trans.
Right. Right.
So
And Mark Chung, I see your questions here. We're definitely going to answer them when we get to our Q&A at the end. So I got you, boo, down there in the comments. And Ricky, we're talking about the misconception of a bisexual male. Basically, we're talking about stigmas attached to being a bisexual male is a topic for tonight.
mhm.
Brian Anderson, welcome to the forum, you all. And D-Star, thank you for seeing coming back into the live here. So Silent had made a good point when he was talking about as far as going through different phases of when it comes to dealing with your struggle as a bisexual male to when you come to the acceptance point. And he mentioned that one of the things as far as that he touched on was fear. Like, did you experience any fear as far as when it came to the acceptance of you being a bisexual male?
Yes. And I'll say this, just like when it relates to the music and entertainment and why we have so many DLs and why bisexuals don't come out. Because it's like it dilutes the relationship. You're looked at different.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, they don't look at you as a person. They look at as you like like you have a sickness.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
You're treated different. You're ostracized by the people you're around and your peers. Because what normally happens, especially when you're in a relationship with a female, um, many times in some situations, in my opinion, what I see is when they go talk to their girlfriend, they don't say you're bisexual. They say you're gay.
Gay. Right.
Yes.
That I definitely agree with. I definitely do agree with that there. And and that's something that like I said, I feel like it is why it's such a strong thing when you look at it from a heterosexual community standpoint as it pertains to some women, because you don't think of the bisexual word, especially when it comes from a woman. All you think of is that that person is going to say, "Oh, that person is gay," and that's it. There's nothing like that comes after that. Like there is no like, oh, well, this person likes women. No, it's just that girl, he don't mess with a man, so he's gay. Period, and that's it. In the discussion, nothing else.
Mm.
Um, and and that's a segue that, excuse me, I wanted to go into another thing to what we touched on earlier was the pansexual and bisexual. So, and this is just from my perspective. This is the reason why when people mention about, just like I mentioned a little bit earlier in Chi Chi's live, when people mention about as far as the being labeled, as far as, well, just telling me that I'm pansexual. The only reason why, the only reason why I don't really consider myself to be pansexual is because I don't want it to be a steer away because of the fact that I'm, so worried. Because in my head, like I had to sit back and think, like, why do I have such a problem with the word pansexual? And I think with me personally, the reason why I don't really see myself as a pansexual is because of the fact that I don't want it to take away from the fact that, of what the bisexual represents. I feel like pansexual is more of a way of an escape, and this is just with me, an scapegoat of saying that, hey, okay, this person is attracted to the energy of a person, meaning that you're attracted to anybody. But when you think about it, that's what bisexual represents. You're attracted to both sexes. I mean, what else? There's no really like great in the middle. The only great in the middle that people would think of is trans. But when I see a trans woman or a trans man, I just, as far as address them as she or he, I don't sit here and think of a gray area even with them. I just say that either you're dating women or you're dating men. So for me, is to, the question of why I label, why if I had to put myself under, as far as a letter, I would consider to be bisexual, and I would stand in that, without being ashamed. Now, it's because I want people to understand that, it's nothing wrong with saying that you're bisexual, rather than, saying that, hey, I'm a pansexual, because of the fact that I don't want to make it be known that, hey, I'm attracted to men and women. I'm just gonna say I'm attracted to people's energy and leave it at that. So that's my take on it when it comes to the pansexual thing. That's my breakdown of it. What would you say that, and either one of you all can go, what would you say that, as far as your breakdown is of it when it comes to being, um, when you think of pansexual versus bisexual?
So I'm actually going to help everybody out. If you guys are want to follow along with what we're talking about, I'm going to post an
Mhm.
article in the chat so you guys can check it out about what I'm
Okay.
about to say. So I'm just going to post a link in the chat real quick. So 1 second.
All right.
So what I'm gonna say is, uh, as I've said before, the whole part of bisexual being considered transphobic, and why I said that that's not necessarily true,
Mhm.
because even when the term was created, it and throughout history, non the excuse me, the aspect of being trans was even added to the term over the years of this term being created. So, and as I said, we if you are trans man or trans woman, we respect you as the gender you are you are identified as. So if you're a trans woman, you're a woman to me personally, and if
Right.
you're a trans man, you're a man to me. So
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean that we are uh, transphobic against the trans community, because I don't believe that. Um, and I think, and if you read the article that I sent in, it details it more. And then, like you said, pansexuality is, you hear a lot of people discuss it. I wish we had somebody that actually identified as pansexual on here to actually um, discuss their opinion on it because I don't
Hmm.
want to just have my own opinion and act like I know what pansexuality is at all. So, because I don't identify as that. But I
Right.
can say we hear a lot that they're attracted to energies, they're attracted to, um, they're just attracted to energy, period. So, you know.
Okay. D Star, what is your take on that?
I mean, it's the same. Like one of our famous YouTubers that I mentioned last night, I am Zoe. He's pansexual. We had a
Hmm.
conversation off camera, and
Hmm.
yes, he tells me it's about energy.
Okay.
For us as being well, for myself as a bisexual, I'm attracted to the the physical.
Hmm. Okay. Gotcha. All right.
And I just want to go down to can you pull up Ben Anderson's comment? I mean Brian
Let's see
Anderson,
right
sorry.
here. Is it this one
If
right
you
here?
yes. So bisexual and sexually fluid. Sexual fluid is part of the bisexual spectrum. So sexually fluid and bisexual are pretty much the same thing. It's just a different wording.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that because okay, so the bisexual and sexually fluid. But then when you think of the pansexual part, it's more rather on the vibe with a person rather than the physical part with a person.
Yes.
So would you say
Or at
that
least
sexually
that's what
fluid?
I oh
That's what
sorry.
it. Okay. No, no, you go ahead. Yeah.
Oh I was just gonna agree with you and say that yes, it's most you mostly hear about it just being the energy and not the physical form. It's just
Okay.
that person. If we have a connection, it's we have a connection. Period.
Gotcha. Okay. Ricky, what's
Now,
up,
Mr.
silly?
Seven, for eight, one thing I can say that right, give your ex. One thing I can say is under the spectrum of the zodiac, us being Scorpios, we can relate
Oh,
to the sexually
Jesus.
fluid part because that's part of our
Right.
zodiac sign. We're very sexual.
Right.
And in
And
most
and you
cases,
know,
you will find out a lot of Scorpios fall under the bisexual spectrum.
you know what? That's an interesting take. I never thought about that. That a lot of Scorpios fall because every time I talk to somebody and I mention that I'm a Scorpio, the first thing that come out of their mouth is, "Ooh, I know you so nasty and freaky," and I'm like, why is everybody always saying that? Like, can I get a grade? Like, why I gotta be labeled as a nasty, freaky slut?
I'm dead. And I want to go back to another one of the comments. Mark Chung.
Hmm.
He asked why is bisexuality more acceptable for women versus men? Um,
Ooh,
well, a
now
lot
this
of it.
part.
Well, to be honest, uh, it plays into the patriarchy. Uh, the fantasy for a lot of cisgender straight men is to have two women in a bed with them. So threesomes are if there's a threesome, they want to have two women, and then the fact that the woman is also sexually attracted to the woman is just something that excuse my French, but to get their dick hard.
That part.
So
Yes.
it doesn't. It's not socially accepted because men don't want to have be in a threesome with another man who's also attracted to them. That's not if they're cis and straight. That's not something that they're attracted to.
And see, I think
Well,
I
let me
think it
kind of
all plays on ego
piggyback.
too.
Hold on, before. Well, again, I have to say Hollywood plays a role of it as well because in
Hmm.
most movies you see the threesomes with two women. Most of your
Okay.
porn you see two women.
Okay.
Yes.
But I will say now in the new millennium, in this decade, the tables have turned.
Have
Yeah.
turn. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Because I was gonna say, I also think that it also plays a part when it comes to egos as well. Because I feel like that when it comes to a man, it's like it's all about protecting that image of masculinity. It all goes back to masculinity. But then if it comes to two
Yep.
women,
Sure
that's
does.
the whole thing of, oh my God, two women, messing around together. Nobody thinks of that, or if a woman considered bisexual because it's already looked at that woman is feminine anyways. So what
Mm-hmm.
else is there to sit there and attack? So I feel like it's all about with the man. The reason why it's so looked down upon is because people are all about, well, what is the definition of what a man is supposed to look like as far as
Mm-hmm.
in the image of people's eyes? And I think that's where the trick spot is when it comes to, you know, the like that controversial issue that people have when it comes to dealing with bisexual men. It's like, oh my God, a woman can sit here and do this because it's already pretty much there's nothing to protect in terms of, masculinity. It's just all femininity from the beginning. But with a man, being that, a man is not supposed to be looked at as vulnerable, soft. A man is not supposed to cry, show his feelings. It's all about protecting that masculinity overall image. If you do anything outside of that, that's considered to be, to look at as soft, you
Mm-hmm.
automatically is considered weak. You consider to
Yeah.
be a woman, and all of those other words that comes down and trickle down with that. So
And
that
again, that's
that
just
right there.
sorry to cut you off.
But
And again, that's
Mhm.
but for me in my book, because my rule is twos or threes a crowd. That's why I don't share the bedroom. Whenever you bring another woman in, they get the feelings for another woman, right? And then
Right,
when she wants to bring in, then what's happening? He get feelings for another man. Then we
right.
run into problems. So
mm-hmm.
that's why I always say you don't. That's why it's not good to always share the bedroom with a person who you love.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true. Very true. I definitely agree with that there. And I know D Star, you gotta go. He said in about another good, looks like 15 minutes here. So I'm going to hop because we're gonna make this into a
You,
two-part
I got a
series.
good 20.
20, okay. So we're gonna hop right into the Q&A here because I wanted to go back up
One
into
thing,
some of the questions.
hey,
Oh, go ahead,
Mister.
Sam. You good?
One thing I just want to since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, I do
Hmm.
want to talk about certain things that affect the bisexual community at large.
Hmm. Okay.
So uh, I'll put this resource as well into the chat so you guys can look at it.
Okay.
It's on
Okay.
byresource.org if you guys want to look at it, but I'll post it in a minute after I'm done talking. So why are mental health issues important to bisexuals? So it says research suggests that bisexuals suffer worse mental health outcomes than heterosexuals, lesbians, and gay men. These outcomes include higher rates of anxiety, depression, and other mood disorders, higher reporting of self-harm, suicidal thoughts, and suicide attempts, lower level of social support, being less likely to be comfortable with their sexuality or to be out with friends and family compared to lesbians and gay men, higher rates of substance use, including cigarette smoking and heavy drinking. And then it asks what causes these poor mental health outcomes in bisexuals, biphobia and biracial or invisibility, and we hear that a
Mm.
lot. Um, and the definition of biphobia and is hold on one second.
Hmm.
Despite making up half of the lesbian, gay, and bisexual LGB community, bisexuals often describe unique experiences of stigma and exclusion. Biphobia is one form of discrimination. Biphobia is the fear, hatred towards, or discrimination against bisexuality. Common stereotypes associated with biphobia include bisexuals are sexually greedy, promiscuous, and carriers of STIs.
Mm.
Bisexuals are untrustworthy or traitors to the LGBT community because they can take advantage of heterosexual privilege. Bisexual women only aim to seek sexual attention from heterosexual men. Bisexual men are too afraid to fully come out and therefore are really just gay.
Mm. That is deep. That is really
All
deep.
right, and let me speak on that. Let me speak on that real quick. Um,
Let me post this in a.
when in my 30s, that's when I went through that down depression and all that. We've all been down that road.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain age, as I got into my later 30s, I became confident in who I was. It's a difference. You know who you are. Can't nobody change that. And what I tell people, by being bisexual, we bridge a lot of gaps.
Hmm.
By me being a hairstylist, working in the salon, working with women and men, I bridge that gap because when you see a transgender come in, when you see a lesbian come in, when you see a gay person come in, uh, we're able to explain and educate on our community because we know both spectrums of the community because we're around people in many circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that's why I admire T.S. Madison so much because even with the fight that she had as a transgender woman, she had to break down those stereotypes. And
Right.
like I said, and even with a lot of us in the community, we weren't educated on that. So a lot of us who are under her learned a lot from transgender side.
Exactly.
So it's my duty, and like I said, anytime I have a voice wanting to speak about bisexual, I'm gonna talk about it because I'm gonna make sure I bridge those gaps, even when it comes to this community. Because a lot of people, get a lot of misconceptions. Yeah, heterosexual people don't understand our lifestyle, just like a lot of us who grew up and we didn't grow up around heterosexual people because some of us are born into gay families.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So a lot of times we just have to bridge the gap between the two. Each one teach one. That's how we grow.
Mm-hmm.
We whatever knowledge we have, and that's why I remember when I got a divorce from my ex-wife, I sat back and I studied our community
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times when we come in, we don't educate ourselves and we're ignorant of the certain lingo and the language and communicating because we didn't do enough research and studying. And the way
Mm-hmm.
social media is set up now, you can type anything you want to in that search engine and find that information.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when we get that knowledge, we end up connecting those links,
Right.
and that strengthens the chain and the bond of our community.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. I definitely agree. And and two things that I want that jump started that I wanted to touch on was that the first one was that when Silent was speaking on the article there, my mind was going back to thinking about the women, once again, saying that, hey, I can't compete with a man that sleeps with another man. There's no competing with that. Well, boo, first of all, if you doing your job right, if you focus on, your man and doing what you got to do, you ain't got to worry about nobody else taking what's yours because if it's yours to have, it's yours to keep. And if it's yours to keep, it's yours to have. So you ain't got to worry about nobody taking that from you. Can't nobody take that from you, period, on that. And then the other part that I wanted to touch on was that, when you spoke on that D Star, it also jump started my mind that, for the longest I used to be so worried about my feminine side that's within me because, I feel like at the end of the day, let's be honest, I feel like all of us men in general, and it's just men in general, have something inside of them. They may not realize that there is what I consider to be inner feminine as far as things that they may do or may feel, just whatever the case may be. And there was a time to where I was always so scared on what kind of clothes I wore, how the fit was it too did it look too tight? Was it too like I was always worried about it because I wanted to be I felt like the subconscious like in my mind wanted to be accepted as far as to look at or taken seriously, not to be looked at as just some flamboyant queen, but to be looked at as just a regular man who's just living his everyday life because I'm still Tristan at the end of the day. So, it
Mm-hmm.
was like one of those things that I had to come realize within myself to, stop, as far as being afraid of what people, as far as you think, because of the fact that somebody's, going to feel some kind of way because you may, as far as wear a certain color, or you may have, a outfit on that may, as far as be a little bit fitted, to your body. Like, don't be afraid, be confident in whatever you're in. And as far as like I said, when it comes to your mannerisms, as far as your like how you carry yourself, embrace it all on both sides because at the end of the day, you have to be feel confident in the body that you're in. Can't nobody else do that for you. You have to feel confident in the body that you're in. And that's one of the things that I also, had to come realize was, don't let, stuff like that, as far as keep me in a box confined because I'm so worried about image, of how I'm perceived.
To tackle
Uh,
quick that Mark had. Mark says, does Does your career or your social status give you more acceptance when it comes to bisexual among cisgender communities? I would say yes.
Okay.
I would
Yes,
say
it
yes to
did.
that. One, my career as a hairstylist is easier because how the picture paints the picture. If you're a male doing hair, you either femme or gay or so on. As I mentioned last night, not every male that does hair is gay. We have some
Right.
heterosexual men who do. We have barber stylists.
Hmm.
We have a lot of barbers who do women's hair. So
Right.
that's a misconception. Again, when I worked with with my management company, working in the music side, if gay was unheard of to be, you couldn't be in the studio and be gay
Right.
because
Right.
everybody's gonna look at you funny.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of times there are a lot of DL going down because they feel like that being gay, you dilute that masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they
Just
feel
by
like
the
your music is no
association.
longer gonna,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So yeah, it does depend on the career.
Okay.
It's accepted in some and not accepted in others.
Yep. I mean, speaking on your point, Tristan, about the clothing, you would choose your clothing a specific way, and your mannerisms, you don't want to show any femininity. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much been my story all my life. So it wasn't until probably recently that I started wearing more uh more tighter clothes and stuff like that because I didn't want already I was considered very feminine and people were already calling me gay from since I was a kid already. So I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
add any fuel to what they were spewing
To
out.
that. Right.
So I would stop myself from wearing tighter clothes, like I said, and more certain colors like pink, which is again stupid, um,
Mm-hmm.
because clothing has no gender at the end of the day. Um, so you'll see uh, on my pictures, I'm more free with not only just my clothing but also my body and accepting
Mm-hmm.
myself. So
Right.
it takes time. Some people it takes a while for you to unlearn all those triggers and all those things that you were taught as a kid, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you grew up in the church. So
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, and like I said, this is just only from observation, because of the fact that, unlike, me, who, unfortunately, the Lord didn't bless me with all that goodness, and hips and bodies and things. However, for the man, and let's keep it real. There are men, and when I say this, I mean even with heterosexual men that have what they call, like I hear a lot of women say, oh, they got women hips, you know, or whatever the
mhm.
case may be with their heterosexual male. Like, would you say that there's something, that also plays a part, as far as you, when it came to you being afraid of, as far as how you, dressed according to your body, as far as body type?
I could I could say that because I've always had really like thick thighs.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I was ever um like fat or anything. But I
Hmm.
definitely was on the chubbier side, especially when I was a little kid. So I've
Right.
always had like thick thighs and stuff like that. So uh, and I do naturally like have a switch in my walk, just naturally. Like
Right.
I can't so it's just always been something that occurred. So I never wanted to wear like tighter pants so you can like
Hmm.
automatically see that I have a
Right.
butt. Like I didn't want to see that. So I would always wear like bigger shirts or like bigger pants to try and hide
Hmm.
it. It didn't really
Hmm.
help because my thighs were
Right.
big, so it's just going you're just going to see the only thing that was loose for real would be like at the ankle and the leg part. So
Right.
it didn't really help at the end of the day. So at a point, I got to the point where it was like they're going to say whatever they're going to say, but I like what I'm wearing. I feel good in this outfit that I have on, so I'm just going to wear it. If you have an issue with it, you just have an issue with it at this
Issue with
point.
it.
So
Right. I understand. And that's something that I'm glad that you touched on because I do feel like a lot of people struggle with that when it comes to, like I said, worrying about how they carry themselves as far as how people perceive them based on when it comes to, whether it be the clothes or how they act as far as mannerisms. Like I feel like a lot of that plays a part into the stigma that people associate, with, oh my God, is this person this or this person that because they do X, Y, and Z. And like I said, I know plenty of men heterosexual who, they're just people that have feminine tendencies. But I know without a shadow of a doubt, they got wifey kids. They're I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and they're not gay. That's just who they are. Like they just like being well-groomed people who just like to look really, really, really kind of like pretty boy vibe. And that just is what it is. Like, but they're not gay though. But people would say that they are because of the fact that they're too neat. I hear women say, "Oh, I want a man with messed up feet." Why would you want a man with messed up feet for? Like, what
It's
difference
because
does that make?
they internalize the toxic masculinity of it all,
That part.
it's just getting regurgitated and regurgitated over and over and over and over again, and that's what kids grow up and have to, either you are bisexual or
Mm,
just part of LGBT period, you have to dismantle a lot of trauma. Again, it's mental health awareness month, so we need
right,
therapy.
right,
Like
exactly.
I had a like when I was during high school, I had to get a therapist for an incident. Speaking of suicide, I was going to
Mm,
commit suicide, so my friend told the counselor in school, so I was admitted to a therapist that I had to go to
hmm.
for a year or so. Again, I wish I paid attention more and what
Right,
didn't feel betrayed, because I felt betrayed by my friend for her
right.
even telling that, because I didn't want people to know that I did that. But in the end, it was actually helpful. I didn't know how much it would be helpful until I lost the opportunity to go.
Hmm.
So now I look back and like I'm like I should have took that opportunity from the beginning, because I feel like if I took that opportunity then I probably would have honestly came out earlier,
Hmm.
and a lot of the progress that I've made at this point right now I could have done earlier.
Earlier,
If
gotcha.
if I really think about it, like I won't say I regret it, because
Hmm.
I've learned some lessons by not doing it, but
Right.
I believe if I could go back in time and just redo everything, that I would have took
Hmm.
that more seriously, because
Gotcha.
there's a lot of stuff that we had to unlearn, and it's not even just the whole sexuality portion of it. Just being a black man, period. You have a lot of stuff.
Gotcha.
So
And I want to put a pin in that because I want to touch on that here before we go to Q&A. D Star, how you looking on time? I just want because I want to make sure that you have any as
Hmm.
far as final thoughts and
I'm
questions that
good.
you may have. You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the go into that just a little bit more when it comes to I know you mentioned like the suicide part and dealing with the therapist part. So with me, and this is something that, that's taken me a while. I have actually been going to therapy my whole life on and off in periods of time. My only thing now, looking back on it, I just wish that I would have been more accepting into being more as far as receiving of the therapy that was given because I
hmm
used to be so shut off from therapists thinking like, oh, these people, they're meant to sit here and pick your mind and sit here and tell you, as far as, what you should do right and all this other stuff. When really, I've come to learn that therapy is good because it helped me to get out a lot of the inner things that I was holding in. Because
hmm
I'm saying, like, every time I would go to therapy, I promise you, I would sit there and say, I am not going to cry. I am not going to be sitting here being bothered with Barbara ass. Barbara going to sit here and she going to sit there and tell me whatever she going to tell me. And I'm going to sit here like I'm going to sit here and that's going to
That's
be it.
exactly how I
By the,
was.
right. And then by the time I leave there, I'm all I got about 5 or 6 tissue. I'm snot face tissue running like just a whole mess because now it's like the more I dive into my past, because like a lot of times, for people that may not know, therapy, they want you to dig deep to find out the root core of the problem. So they always want you to go
Mm-hmm.
backwards to your past. So with that being said, my past, is a bit more complicated, as to how I became, with the person that I am, now, because of the fact that I dealt with a lot of molestation, as a younger person. And that kind of screwed me up, when it came to what my perception of love was. So that's why it took me so long to get to the point that I'm at now, to realize that, hey, okay, it's okay, Tristan, it's okay to admit that you are bisexual, because I'm telling you, I used to be so in denial because of the fact that I had so much stuff that happened to me. I had seen so much stuff, whether it was violence between my dad being with my mom, whether it was me getting constantly molested over and over and over again by people, one after the other. And the reason why I felt like I was getting molested was because people saw that inner gay side in me. And because of
Mm-hmm.
that, they preyed on it. And, like I said, it just caused me to be more confused as I got older, because I was like, well, dog, for the longest, you hear the church people, when you go and get church therapy, they tell you, oh, it's because of the fact that you were molested, and period. That's it, point blank. They don't tell you that, hey, maybe there's a possibility you could have been this way, but somewhere along the way, maybe the molestation thing happened to you, and you just pretty much ended up like you was, just because of the fact that, hey, it just so happened that you was gay and this did happen to you. But then as time progressed, you had to kind of like figure out how to come into acceptance with that, because even with now, I still am very sensitive. There are certain things, whether it's man or woman, that I just do not feel comfortable with doing to everybody until I get to know that person, because of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
it's a trigger point in my head. And so because it's a trigger point in my head, I'm always like, oh my God, when I do this, like people would sit here and call me crazy for the longest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would tell people that um I'm cool with sex, but I'm not cool with oral sex. Like, people would look at me crazy for that, because of the fact that they would be like, "Oh my God, how can you sit here and say that, you okay,
Do you fix your
with
face?
sex?"
You don't
I'm
like
just
what?
I'm,
You say you
Look,
don't like what?
I'm just saying, for the longest, people would sit here and say that, how can you be cool with sex in general, but you not cool with oral sex? And I'm saying, and what my response would be to them, the only reason why I can have sex with somebody versus having oral sex, like I can do that first before having oral sex, is because of the fact that that's what I went through as a child. So that's like a trigger point. So I feel like if I do that to a person, I feel like they stolen something from me, if that makes sense.
Mm-mm.
And that's
I
just how
want
I
it
I
feel.
all.
understand. I
I
understand
Yeah,
that,
want
because
it
if
all.
that's it, because if that's here he go, here
I
he go.
mean,
Because if it's especially if it's part of the molestation for you, and that's still a
right,
trigger, that makes sense
right,
for it.
right,
And again, we
and
all have triggers like that. So.
right, and I have to, and like I said, I have to laugh about it now, because back then I used to be so, like, I don't know, just like sensitive about even like bringing it up, because I would never tell anybody about it until I actually get to that point of where the oral sex had to take place, and I'd be like, we can't do that. And they'll be like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
so let me get this straight. I don't sit here and we don't pound each other. We don't took each other all down through the delta and back. And you mean to tell me you gonna stop right here and not give me no head? And I'm just like, well, there's a story behind that. And then I would have to go into the whole thing of
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go into the whole discussion of why I'm just like, there's a mental block when it comes to the oral sex, because once again it goes back to being a trigger point. And it's like, now I look back at it, and I'm just like, wow, I came a long way, because now it doesn't bother me as much. I guess
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that, with time I've matured and I've grown, and I've been able to, really separate the two from each other. So, but it just that just was what it was. And like I said, there has been a lot of having to separate a lot of things in my life, because it irks me when people say, oh, this person is gay because this person was molested. Yeah, you can say that, but there's also, a little bit of backstory to that as well. Did that person have feelings for somebody prior to the molestation? Like, you don't know. We don't know that. Like, did you have feelings for a guy prior to the molestation? Is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people don't
Exactly.
know that. People just assume that, oh, you was molested, you automatically turn gay, and that's the end of the story. Point blank. Period.
No, because that's
So,
not everybody's. That's not everybody's story.
Exactly.
right. These star, how you looking on time?
I got 10 minutes.
You get 2 minutes? Okay. So
Okay.
I want to, because I'm trying to fit everything into here. I wanted to go into just a couple of questions here. So I'm gonna start back from the top of where we left off at here, because I wanted to make sure I got to everybody. I know we answered Mark Chung's first two questions here. Oh, I think he mentioned, he said, is it okay for your partner to compliment the opposite sex more often than you? Is it okay for your partner to compliment the opposite sex more often than you? Hmm.
Well, for me, I don't know if you're with somebody, they shouldn't. I understand that we all have eyes first off, and
Right.
especially if you're dealing with a man, we're more visual than women automatically. So I would expect the person that I'm with to see somebody that's attractive and say something to me. But for you to uh not do the same for me, it kind of enters it being a red flag. Like,
Mhm.
why are you complimenting somebody else more than you're complimenting me and I'm with you? So that's a trigger to me, and I would leave that person alone. That's just me.
How do you feel about that, D Star?
Same thing, because in the event of the person you're complimenting more, we might get in the bedroom and you might call me that person name.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. And I also feel some kind of way about that. It's okay for you to, as far as look at your own, like, but don't make stuff just so obvious that you just doing stuff disrespectfully in front of your, partner. Like, and even though this kind of goes a little bit aside from what Mark Chung was saying, but I've even had a guy to sit here and get, now, I ain't got a problem with porn. Let me go ahead and put this out here now. What I do got a problem with is if the fact that, knowing, and like I said, this kind of is a whole nother like subject, but back like years when I was dealing with my early years of my sickle cell or whatever, there would be times to where I just could not, as far as in the bedroom, because of the fact that physically you're in pain. Ain't nobody got time for that. You ain't trying to, do all that. So I would be like, come into the bedroom after taking a shower, and my partner is just sitting up here, just happy go lucky, honey, on the computer at porn, just, I mean, just getting his whole entire life. And I guess I kind of feel some kind of way only because of the fact that I'm just like, well, damn, he had to go to porn to get satisfaction. But then I'm like, well, I guess is it better than going to somebody else to get satisfaction? So I guess I had to look at the two of the lesser evil when you look at it.
Hmm.
So that's just, that just was what that was. But anyways, um,
Did you
on to the
want
next question.
Did you want T Bless to have the StreamYard link?
Yeah, I just sent her the link
Okay.
to the StreamYard. I think she probably forgot to look at her phone. But she probably was thinking I was referring to the YouTube link. Sorry about that, T Blaze. That was my fault.
Okay.
Um,
Just
but
want to
yeah,
make sure.
you can drop the link, because if anybody have any questions, feel free to come on. I know D Star is going to be leaving us shortly here, but I'm still gonna,
Hmm.
close out with the Q&A here part here, and then also for you all, we're gonna do a two-part series to this, going, as far as into the other part of the misconception of a bisexual male, which will be on next Wednesday, June the third. Yeah,
Yep.
is that right? Yeah, June the third.
Hmm.
And we basically, from on part two, we will be talking about dating women as a bisexual man, marriage from a bisexual perspective, and challenges faced then versus now with the perception of being bisexual. So stay tuned for part two series coming next Wednesday, June the
Yes.
third. I gotta keep track of all these dates. And let me go down here and see here. Okay, so let me see. Why is bisexual? Okay, so I think we touched on that. Why is bisexually more acceptable for women versus men? We touched on that one. I know here. And let me
Mm-hmm.
go to the next question. Is it acceptable for your partner to compare you to other people they've dated or seen on TV?
I just
Excuse
answered
me.
that one.
You just answered that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go here. Rael said that's so true. I feel like cis women throw away bisexual men because of their insecurities, because of this insecurity of their and the history of DL men cheating on women. Definitely do agree with that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very true. Let's see here. Brian Anderson. I hate when people overlook bisexual. They love to say it's not real. Right, that part. Can you compare the struggles of bisexuality to biracial? Can you compare the struggles of bisexuality to biracial? I think Silent, you would be a good person to answer that question. You give me that controversial side of that question there for some reason. Like you seem to be a good fit
I,
for that question.
I, I wouldn't equate
I
it.
mean, I feel like it's
I feel like in some
yeah.
veins we can say it. It's on the
I feel like
same
it's two
vein.
different things. It's on the same thing, like
It's the
same
same vein, but two different
two
concepts. And
different
again, I'm
right,
not biracial, so I don't feel I have a right to even talk about that. So
right.
I'll just say that portion, and I think that's a better thing that we could if a biracial person was on here, and even better if a bisexual person who is also biracial can talk about that specifically. That'd be great. But me, on the other hand, I ain't gonna talk about that because I don't have enough experience. So
Understood. And Keon, my bro, said, love the way you always expressed it in that way. Thank you, Keon. Brian Anderson said, what's the difference between, okay, we answered that
you
question
answer
there.
that
I
one. So
remember.
We answered that already.
yeah.
Let's see.
So if
True,
you
I feel like it's more acceptable of women to be
so if you guys
bisex.
want to talk to us personally, that's the StreamYard link. So just click that in and then set your
Yes,
camera. Or if
y'all.
you don't
This
want, or if you don't want to come in by face, you could just talk to us with your voice. So
my
just to let
best
y'all know.
friend is bi, and she hasn't experienced half of the backlash from her family that I once did, and it's all because she's a woman. Wow. Yep. Double standards. That's double standards for you.
It does happen like that a lot.
I'm just trying to make sure I get to everybody's questions here. There's trans, what is there's trans, hold on, I missed the comment. There's trans attraction make one by.
We touched on it a little
Interesting.
bit.
We touched on that a little bit. Um,
And I would say that you can whatever term you feel comfortable using works best for you. So me, I consider myself bisexual, and I would I would say I'm trans attracted because again, I look at
Well,
you as the gender
in
that
my
you.
world, in my
Go ahead.
world, I would just drop the buy out and I'll just say you're trans attracted
There, that's also true.
versus saying bisexual. You're trans attracted.
Yeah, I agree. Because you can be straight and trans attracted. So
all right, and then Mark Chung said, would you be in a relationship with someone who doesn't enjoy kissing? Woo. Look, my
I
laughter
mean,
says it
for
all.
me, it wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't
that's
work for me because I'm a
That's
kisser.
a that's a
So
good question, but
yeah,
also
that
that's
wouldn't
kind of
work for me.
interesting. Anyway, how are you in a relationship and you're not kissing the person though? I'm so
You
confused.
know, I would
Now
actually
again, now
Everybody's not
again,
kissers though.
no,
Everybody's not kissers
that's true. And then
that
also it might
part.
be a trigger for them too as well. So I'm not going to judge anybody for that. But personally, I don't think I could deal with that.
Yeah, it's a
it's a trigger
lot.
for me.
I
It's
was
so enough a
gonna
trigger for
say,
me.
Oh Lord, here he
look,
goes
look,
again.
look. We know.
Oh
We know it's a
Lord.
trigger for you. We know it's a trigger for you. We know that.
If you
We
guys
know
would,
it's a
if
trigger
you
for
got
you.
just a shameless plug for one of our friends, Miss Jasmine Divine. If you want to know why we're saying the things we're saying about Mr. D Star down there, she did an interview with him yesterday. So I'll put the link in the comment section if you guys want to check that out. And it's her name is Jasmine, um, I'll put the link, and it's Jasmine Divine. So search that in the YouTube channel, and you'll see D Star as the interview that just happened on the channel. Just a shameless plug for my girl Jazz.
Oh, definitely. And so, and Jasmine, she comes on. We have to
Mister,
remind you.
I'm getting ready to drop out.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to drop out, but I'm gonna be in the comment section, so I'll still be listening. Once I get
Okay.
clocked in, then I'll come back on. All right.
Thank you, T
Okay.
Blast.
Thank
All right,
you,
babe.
the star.
Bye.
All right. Keon said, I think that's partly because I feel like I also pose a burden in a relationship because there's a lot of care that comes with my CP dot cerebral palsy diagnosis.
Oh.
Hold on, Keon. I just want to make sure I have clarification. You mentioned that what when you say I think that's partly because what are you referring to the part that you feel like that you think that's partly because I think you probably like missed it with the part there. If you could drop that in the comments, that way I can respond to that because I would definitely want to respond to that
Same.
comment. And if y'all, like I said, if y'all in the comments, y'all want to come on, y'all see the StreamYard link down here. Don't be afraid. Click on it.
Come on and click, y'all.
Come
You're not
on in the
scary or
room.
nothing
Don't be scared. Y'all be so scared to come on camera. Y'all ain't even have to put y'all camera on.
at
Just
all.
put the lens off and come on in the room, as they say. But
Come on in the room.
the sex coming up above. He said the sex coming up above. Let me go back up here.
Uh,
The sex coming up above.
so that's on if I got some people's good. Oh, I see it. It's right under. It's right above the link that
Oh, it's talking
T
about when he
Blast
said, see
posted.
that this one right here.
Yes, it's that one.
What people scared to hurt me doing. Oh, you know what? So since you mentioned this, and since this is also something that I gotta plan out on doing the topic on because you know, me too having sickle cell anemia, and it deals with a lot of pain. It does, and there, as I stated, there are times too when I may not be able to have sex or whatnot because if you're in pain, like I said, anybody got time for that. But I've
Mm-hmm.
been down that road, Keon, to where I've been afraid to be with people just because of the fact that I feel like, I don't want to be a burden to somebody if I have to like there's times I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I've had to sit in a waiting room for 10 hours as of recently because of waiting to see a doctor. And that just comes with the life of having to deal with chronic illnesses, such as, um, such as cerebral palsy and sickle cell. It just that comes with the territory. So, with that being said, it's just one of those things that you have to like it's my advice to that I would say is that you have to find somebody that's willing to if you have somebody that's willing to go through it with you. I would say definitely let that person in, like try. I know it's hard to try to get past that fear because if not, people are going to, I mean, you're never going to be able to meet somebody, that's for you. There are people out there that is willing to, as far as be in your corner when it comes to that. Like I've been down that road. Unfortunately, at the time, I was not accepting to it because I didn't have confidence in myself, and I didn't, have the self esteem in myself to see that that person was good, and that's a strike on my part. But we
Thanks, T
all live
Blast.
and learn. Yeah, we all live and learn from that there. Keon. Oh, and Ricky, I'm sorry, Ricky said something. Let me go back up to Ricky's comment.
He was just asking
Uh,
what StreamYard was.
Oh, he thinks okay. And
Hmm.
he mentioned something. I saw another comment from him when I was going to look at Keon's comment.
He
Uh,
said he was
it
talking
was
about
something to do
the
with insecure.
yeah, he was talking
Oh,
about the
that right
part
there.
when we were discussing the complimenting the other opposite sex part. That's what he was talking about.
Yeah, yeah. A person constantly compliment. I mean, sometimes that person can just be a player. You got some people who are just players
Hmm.
in that, and
Some
that's
people are just
just
naturally. There's a lot of people that are naturally just flirts too. So
yeah, they naturally just flirts, and that's in their it's in their
hmm.
DNA, and that just is what it is.
And
So
then
yeah,
that might be uh that might be a deal breaker for you. Some people can handle it and some people can't. So
some people
that
can't.
might
Yeah,
be a deal breaker for you. Have any of
I,
you ever felt psychology stuck, not being able to move beyond that hurdle while simultaneously being unwilling to return to what you've always known? I'm
hmm.
confused on the comment a little
So
bit.
so I feel like what Albert is trying to ask is that have you ever been in a place to when just say okay, so what I take from that, just say if you was with somebody and you've been all this person is all you've known, that's all you've been content with, and you that could be looked at as a hurdle as well,
Hmm.
and you trying to move beyond it, but you can't because of the psychological hold, because sometimes things can have a psychological hold on you to when you don't know how to go forward or backwards because you don't want to get hurt again, but yet you don't want to move on because your heart is still back there with the person that you seen him was with previously. Like
Hmm.
it's like to me that's a hard thing. If that's what you're referring to, Albert, that's definitely a hard thing to figure out because I've definitely been in that spot. As a matter of fact, there's a situation right now that I'm sitting here like this close
Well, if we're
to.
talking about that, I haven't had that in a relationship per se, but
Mhm,
just in life general, I felt stuck just with my the career I want.
mhm.
Um, I'm an artist, so it took me a while to actually like how my voice sounded. So that was like one of those things that kind of took me out of music as well, and then also feeling like I wasn't good enough too. So
Yeah,
psychologically, that can hinder you as well.
yeah,
Again, I've moved past a lot of that. Uh, just getting older and accepting myself for the stuff that I some people like. And the thing is, a lot of people, the things that you're insecure about, most of the time, people don't see that and they actually enjoy what you think is your insecurity or your fault point. So that's another thing that happens in life too.
in life, yeah, and I can definitely see that there, and that's why it all boils down to learning how to as far as build off of
Hey,
you
Anthony,
know your self esteem. Hey, Anthony, how are you doing? You can come in if you want to. You can I don't know if Ricky is in the chat
girl,
still.
all this
Look,
damn.
he
Y'all trying to have a dating service in this chat? I see.
oh my
Child.
God. Look, let me tell you
Here we
right now. I can
go.
already, I'm not. I was about to say something, but I ain't gonna even do
Don't
my
even
friend
do
like
it.
that. I ain't gonna even
Don't
do
do
my friend
Ricky
like
like
that.
that.
I ain't gonna do
Leave
Ricky
Ricky
like that.
alone.
I'm gonna let Ricky sit here and be in peace.
Hmm.
Anywho, though, but yeah, but it all comes down to your working on self confidence when it comes to things like that because of the fact that you have to address things that are your weakness and you have to face them head on because if you don't it's like you'll always be stuck. Like I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I never would have thought that in a million years I would have created a YouTube channel to where I would have been this dedicated had this stuff not happened at what we're going through now with this whole
Yep.
situation in the United States and out of the United States. But because I had time on my hand and I was like, okay, Tristan, you clearly cannot sit here either. You have to do something that you can channel all of this energy through. It's what led me to, get to the place I am now. So it's like this helped me to face my fears and like go for it. Mark Chung said, if you support, if you support, dang, I put the comment on. If you support your partner more than they do you, would you consider yourself the I think he means to say that pretty much like, are you pretty much the head of household? Like, is you pretty much the, you know, you the one pretty much, you the one pretty much heading things off. If you support your partner more than they do, what you consider? Because I'm just gonna answer that question just from my perspective. So, from my perspective
I
here,
don't.
I would just say head, dick, and chucks. I was having trouble hunting deciphering that. I'm glad. Thank you, T Bless, because I was
That's what
struggling.
I was about to say too. I was like, I don't know what that is, baby,
I
but
had to hold for a second and really hold see what the D stand for before I answered it. But what I will say is that coming from someone that has dealt with a disability, coming from someone that has dealt with a risk disability, I will say that I will say that I struggled with that, and I'm just gonna be honest. That was the reason why, one of the reasons why I chose to go and try to work again, because of the fact that I was so worried about as far as being powerless in my relationship, because it always seemed to boil down to a thing of, yeah, I wasn't being looked at as an equal person. This person always had the decision making on their side. It always boiled down to, I could never do anything unless they get ready to. Like, it was always a thing of I didn't feel like I was equally yoked. So for me, I wanted to be able to bring something to the table, because I personally don't believe in that whole power role thing to where it's like, oh, this is the husband of the house, this the man in the house. Like, I don't get into all of that. That's
I
just
don't
me.
either.
I don't get into all that.
Also, that's very heteronormative as well.
Yes, very much so.
So,
I'm sorry, Anthony. Hold on, what I did? There you go.
hey,
Hey, Anthony.
What's up? What's up?
nothing
Not
much.
much, child.
We're just
Up here
taking
just
questions at this
chilling.
point.
Ricky,
I,
I ain't mean to put you on the spot, Ricky, but you got fans in the comments that want to know if you single. I'm just the messenger.
Mm,
Don't shoot me. I ain't got nothing to do
child.
with it. I'm not even gonna put you out there on Front Street. So I'm just gonna let that go. But Abba said, what I meant was from an orientation standpoint. One may be straight until they recognize that they aren't. How does one move forward when straight is all that they've ever known? So I like this question. So one from
That's a
orientation,
good
one
question.
may be straight until they recognize that they aren't. That's a good question. That's a good question.
Well, I could say for myself, I've always uh considered myself straight. And then recognizing if I go back, uh, that was part of the. There was a lot of reasons why the suicide attempt occurred at eighth grade. It wasn't just the whole questioning my sexuality part. It was also a lot of other stuff that was going on in my life. That was very triggering for me. So,
Hmm.
but that was definitely a part of it. So,
Hmm.
me figuring out that I actually was attracted to men, kind of shook me in a bad way, because it was like I've been battling people telling me something about myself that I didn't even know what that was in the first place. So I was like, so I'm really confused on how this whole time I have been attracted to men and didn't
Right.
know it. So it can kind of trigger a lot of self hatred, and a lot of biphobia in your own self. Just
Hmm.
like for gay people, you'll have internalized homophobia. There's a lot of bisexual people that have internalized biphobia as well. So it can trigger that, and before they come out, they might not ever come out because the biphobia that they have inside themselves is not going to allow them to do it.
Right.
Unfortunately, some people can will come out and some people won't, and it's not my right to judge you on when you come out. That's it.
I definitely agree with that there, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad that you mentioned that there because, like you said, a lot of people may get to the point where they truly may never come out just because of the fact that there is a fear, when it comes to the whole thing of being worried about being misjudged. I'm going to say and be very honest with you. I think I shared it in another live. There's a part of me, even still to this day, just a tiny part that I regret even people knowing my business only because of the fact that, you know, I hate the whole thing that people associate with the whole thing of once they find out that you like men and women, it's just like it's forever a cloud.
The
Like
stigma.
there's been plenty of females that I like, but I'm to be honest, I feel like the reason why I didn't get that chance versus if I could have gotten that chance was because of the fact that I came out openly as a gay man, and because of the fact that they knew that, that's just it's something that you just have to deal with. It comes with the territory. Once you come out, that's it.
Yeah. And then on dating apps, we talked about this. I believe it was in one of Jasmine's lives. Again, you guys
Mhm.
can go check Jasmine. Is her channel is Jasmine Divine on YouTube, so check her out. Um,
Spelled with a Z. Jazz. Oh, Jazmine. I want to say.
yes,
Is that
and
right?
then
Correct.
it's Divine. Then it's Divine after that. So I was talking about somebody. I don't know who asked me the question. I think Anthony. Did you ask me that question?
I'm
You
not sure.
you I think somebody asked me the question. On like dating apps, do I present and say that I'm bisexual on a dating app? And I said yes, I do. So quite frankly, I feel like on dating apps, if I didn't disclose that I was bisexual, I probably would have had more experiences with women.
Hmm.
Now,
To be honest,
I have a
to
question
be honest.
to both of you, to Mr. 6'8" and also to you, Silent. My
Mm-hmm.
question is, I don't know how long that you've been in the 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 the, the alphabet family,
Mm-hmm.
or dealing with men, but the question is, why is it that so many, especially African American males,
Hold on a second.
when they come out or come into the lifestyle, they hold on to the title as bisexual when, let's say, in the last 5 years they haven't pursued a female and haven't been involved with a female. I mean, because I too, I'm okay. I'm like grandfather to most of y'all because I'm 52.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I find women attractive and some even beautiful, um, but that doesn't make me bisexual. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Um,
Well,
so because I don't know how long you've been involved in the lifestyle or how long you've been with men, but at some point I'm thinking, okay, if you're saying, okay, I'm bisexual, great. But then after a year or two, you haven't pursued a female and one hasn't pursued you. Then at some point, when do you let go the title of bisexual and admit to being gay?
well, that's a misconception as well. And we talked about it earlier in the talk. Um, common misconception is that just because you are predominantly with some certain gender most of the time, that negates your bisexuality. So just the fact that you um aren't like sexually active or in a relationship with a certain gender does not negate the fact that you're a bisexual. You just have the it's just like say if you're a gay child um or a gay teenager, you haven't had sexual experiences with men yet, but you know you're attracted to men.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of it as that aspect, then it makes more sense. And I'm somebody that women have pursued me, but because I didn't accept myself, I didn't allow it to occur. So that's also a part of it as well.
Okay, because what made me ask that question? Because I know back when um I was probably 24, 25 ish, somewhere in there. I was dating this
Mm-hmm.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was 18, 19 years old. I was
Mm-hmm.
25. Um, Now he had not pursued a female, and at that point, probably 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Had no, and then I mean, and was one that was like breaking the door down at the gay club every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Could stay out of the gay club.
What can I just ask you one question though,
Uh-huh.
Anthony? Was he because this plays a lot into it as well. Was he more masculine presenting or feminine
Oh,
presenting?
very masculine,
Okay.
very masculine,
Continue. Continue.
not unclockable,
Mm-hmm.
not detectable, anything.
Mm-hmm.
He and I started dating.
Mm-hmm.
He decided to come out to to his family, and first thing he tells them is he's bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom loved me to death. Even to this day, she still loved me to death.
Mm-hmm.
And she approached me one time, even after we broke up, because he and I was together for like a year, and we eventually broke up because he cheated on me. But
Mm-hmm.
even to this day, his mom is like, she still loves me. She still calls me, checks on me on my birthday, Christmas, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She's and she even told me, she said even when he told her the story of being bisexual, she said she knew that he wasn't bisexual, that he was gay. And that was just a term that he used, I guess, to make things appear to be easier or more acceptable. But she said she accepted the fact that he was gay as long as he was with me. Um,
Mm.
because I was such a respectable person and how I treated her son.
Well,
Um, but she, like I
um,
said, so
well,
she knew he wasn't bisexual.
I that's a little fishy for me because I'm somebody I don't like uh people trying to tell whose sexuality they are. Like if you identify as something, that's what you identify as. And I personally don't feel like I have the right to tell you that otherwise. Again, like I said before, um, I understand what you're talking about, Anthony. I understand. And then also I think what you're talking about is the the misconception and the thing that happens sometimes with gay men that come out
Hmm.
before they come out and officially slide over into being a gay man, they use the bisexual term as
Right.
code first. And see what happens is for people that actually are bisexual, that makes the stereotype and the misconception about bisexuality even worse for actual bisexual people, and that's why they don't come out as well because of that. And that's why you hear in the gay community, it's just a phase all the time.
Now, Anthony, I missed the question because my I had messed around and got a FaceTime child, and I was trying to end the dog on FaceTime, and he kicked me out of the live. And I was like, oh my God, I hope I didn't end my stream. What was the question that you asked, Silent?
It was, well, I asked both of you, it was basically how come that most males, black males predominantly, use the term bisexual when they haven't pursued a female in, let's say, 4, 5, 6 years, and technically really don't have desire, um, and maybe a female hasn't even approached or pursued them, but yet they still hold on to the term bisexual when in all actuality they're, because of the fact that they're only with guys and pursuing guys and living quote unquote a gay lifestyle, then in fact they're gay. Um, so at what point does a person let go of the term bisexual? Because to me, I think that the term bisexual
Hey,
and maybe not with
Taylor.
Violent, based on talking to Violent, maybe not with him, but I know with a lot of black men, they tend to hold on to that title as a sense of comfort or acceptance when in actuality they're gay.
Who's a gay?
So you mean like okay? So you okay? Just make sure I understand correctly. because I was trying to read these comments at the same time. So, like, if a man is with a woman and they've been, as far as labeling, they claim themselves as being bisexual, why is it that they're wanting to hold on to that title at this point, like even after the fact?
No. I don't know if he has or hasn't been with a woman, but I'm saying if he hasn't, we're gonna use you for example,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not using you, but yes, using you. Okay, let's say you have not pursued a female in, let's say, 5 years.
Okay.
You haven't been with a woman in 5 years sexually. You haven't pursued a woman. Yes, you may find them attractive. You may find them beautiful, and I do too. I find them attractive and beautiful. You know, that's one
Okay.
of God's greatest creatures on earth, or female.
Okay.
But and you yet let's say the male is living a gay lifestyle, as far as like constantly, not constantly, but continuously going to gay clubs, you know, in the gay settings, the gay environment, the gay cliques, the gay crowds, you know, he's gay in all aspects of the word gay.
Okay.
But yet he still holds on to the title, excuse me, bisexual, when actually um there's no lifestyle of bisexuality there.
When there's no lifestyle bisexual, he holds on to the title of bisexual when there's no bisexual there, meaning that he's pretty much just doing everything that pertains to the gay side.
Right.
So I definitely think that there is definitely something going on with the underlying fear of worrying about as far as perception there, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would definitely say to that.
Brian, I think Brian said it. Well, his comment,
Right.
down in the comments.
Because they are afraid to let go of that toxic masculinity, calling themselves bi still gives them the feeling of hetero normal. Yeah, she better come through with the big
Right.
words.
Yeah, there are some people. There are some people that are so afraid of being in any way considered feminine.
Hmm.
So the fact that you know that they're attracted to uh men as well decreases their masculinity and their manhood. So a lot of it has to uh goes with that as well. And also a lot of people they're just not like biphobia. Just like people have internalized homophobia, there's internalized
Hmm.
biphobia. So he's
Biphobia.
probably biphobic to himself, girl. And
Right.
uh the comment about he frequents uh I don't know whose comment they were talking about the variances of the attraction to male or female more. You tend There's a lot of people, and I can't speak for all bisexual people, but from what my understanding is, some people are generally more attracted to a certain gender over another, but
Hmm.
just because you're attracted sexually or emotionally to one gender again does not negate uh your bisexuality. So he might be
Right.
more attracted to men, but that doesn't mean he's not still attracted to women, which
But
again
but is
can
but is the
be
attraction necessarily sexual attraction? Because like I
yeah,
said,
there's
I find females attractive, but I'm not sexually attracted to them.
Hmm. Good question. That's a good
to me
question.
that's
Okay,
something that
let me
he
even go any further. Okay, 6 foot. Remember the other night, or a couple, like maybe a week ago or two, there was a conversation. I believe it was on Savon's channel or Jasmine's channel. I had brought up the fact that, like, even one
Hold on.
time.
Hey, Anthony, hold on 1 second. Before you do that, let me see. Jasmine, can you hear me? You can't hear
She
me?
playing with
playing
you.
You
She
can't.
playing
games,
with you.
You know what?
playing games. I can't. Well,
Shoot.
She playing.
here
See, and
she
I
goes.
fall for it every
You
time.
do every
Yes, I
time.
can hear you, child. What's the tea?
Oh dear.
What
I
is
don't.
the
The
tea?
quiet is kept. I don't think I can hear for real. Hold on a second.
Can you hear me
Hold
now?
on. Hold on, y'all. Cause I may have to go
Mic
out
check
and
1 2 1 2 1 2.
Boy, we can't
Hello,
hear you.
yeah,
silence. Hello,
Hey,
Mr.
yeah. I can't
Anthony
hear.
Brown.
Hey,
So what
Jazz.
I'm yeah. This yeah.
You
That's
know
what
he
I'm
got that
gonna
old
do. I'm gonna
ratchet
switch out.
iPhone. I
I'm
told
gonna
him
switch
about the
out
iPhone
my
mess.
screen, and I'm gonna go to my
iPhone
other
2.
screen. Yeah, I'm finna go to my laptop because it's these iPhone devices that don't like StreamYard.
Hell,
Well,
I
you
try
gotta
to
get
tell
your
you.
iPhones checked.
Except Shayla, because Shayla got that
Yeah,
good device.
Shayla
She
got
got
this.
that good.
Shayla got
Get
this
on
shit.
them
She's got the
iPhones.
current
Okay, let me
iPhone.
drop. Hold on, let me just drop out of here.
So, where is D?
Oh, he's at work. So
Oh, okay. So, how y'all doing this evening?
We're
good.
doing.
Yes, I
What
had
is
to come
taking
through and
questions?
wreck shop, because there's a lot of masculine stuff on the panel. So, I
I
had to
hate
come
you
through
so
and
bad.
sprinkle some pussy on them.
Yes, add some femininity.
You so
You know
stupid.
it. And he still ain't got that wretched iPhone fixed yet. Hey,
Uh,
Shayla, we see you.
hey Miss
Hey,
Savon. Hey Shayla.
Shayla, we
Hey,
see you.
Shayla.
Hey,
Hey, Siobhan.
all
What
the
Look,
is
the
that
girls are
feminine at
here.
noise?
the bottom.
Yes, they brought forth femininity.
You know.
Hey, Mister.
God,
Hey
God,
now,
God,
what's
God,
going
God
on?
said,
he
I'm gonna
fighting with that
send
old
you a
wretched
helpmate.
phone.
You heard me? God said, I'm gonna send y'all a helpmate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
I'm
Charlie's
sending you.
Angels came.
I just,
Yeah.
what I like about the way this looks, we all done stuffed up in here in our short hair, giving you just.
Right, all y'all got short hair on.
If
Yes.
you love me,
It
say it.
almost like
If
we
you
was up
love
and playing this, girl.
Okay.
It does. It really does. That's the
Hey,
funny
Ricky.
part
Who
about
is
it.
Ricky?
So
Ricky, Ricky.
Ricky is one of my good friends from my
Is she a lady or she a boy?
no, Ricky is not my boo. But we met. He's a
I
good
didn't
dude.
say
That's
boo. I
what
said
we asked
lady or
you.
boy. Hey,
He said,
baby.
is he
How
a
are you?
boy or is he a girl? They didn't say
Oh,
is
he's
your
a boy.
boo.
I'm sorry.
Ricky is the man.
Is no Ricky is.
Is it a
You can't see the picture. Ricky is
or?
definitely
I
Ricky.
can see Ricky Pig. Ricky's very much giving me handsome.
Yes,
Yeah,
Ricky
I
is.
mean he's cute. I'm not saying I'm not taking
Ricky
that
look like
from
he's
him.
part
I'm
of the
just saying,
DeBarge family. Like he's El DeBarge's little brother.
Ricky is light skinned, pretty Ricky. That's what I call him. Light skinned, pretty Ricky.
Mm.
you
Come
know
on,
it.
Dexter.
Ricky is sexy.
Oh look, he said, "Oh my God."
Oh, Ricky.
What's oh yeah, that's a lady. Hey
Oh,
girl, what's going on?
Jasmine.
What?
Don't do that to him.
Did you just emasculate, girl? You know
I
you
did
know
not.
better than
I
that.
did not.
You was not right for that, Jasmine.
D Star. I'm sorry. I tried to bring you in, but then you
I
left.
did not. I can leave. I mean, you want me
Oh,
to leave? I can
good.
leave so he can
Uh-uh.
talk.
Jasmine, don't you go nowhere.
I get off. I get
Jasmine,
off.
don't you go
I
nowhere.
get
Hold
off.
on.
Jasmine, do not get off.
Did she just? This happened. You know what?
She
Mister,
acting up today.
we gotta get back to my question.
This how they act up. Okay, Jasmine, bring your behind back in here. Anthony, back to your question. I'm sorry,
Okay.
my mind
So
is all over the place
so
right
as, as I was saying, like I think I was on Savon's channel a couple of weeks ago, and the fact that I said that even when I did the threesome with me, my friend girl, and the dude,
Oh, it
and
was my channel. Ooh.
she was sitting on his face, and I ate her ass.
now. Oh,
The fact that did I still don't consider myself bisexual.
You gonna make me relive this all over again?
wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. I need help. Hold on. Somebody got to explain this to me. Hold on. Hold on.
Is it
Hold on.
safe?
It's. I don't think it's safe right now, girl. Because I need some answers. I need
Wait,
to
what?
understand something. Because that just went over my head. So
What
you
went
hold
over
on.
your head?
Hey,
This girl
Philip.
sit on your face, and you ate her eye, but you said
No,
you still don't feel no way
no, no,
about
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
Hey, silly boy,
The guy was laying on his back, and I was giving him head, and she was riding his face. So then,
Shayla, fix your
and
face.
then since she was riding his face, I started eating her ass. So she was getting eaten twice, and from the pussy and from the ass at the same time.
Ooh, lucky bitch.
Right. Now, I still don't consider myself bisexual.
Okay.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
because you would. I mean, you was eating booty.
Right, I was eating booty. I'm
Booty
attracted
hole
to
is
I was
booty
attracted to
hole.
the ass. I'm an ass connoisseur.
Mm-hmm.
My nerves just got bad for a second.
Ooh,
I'm gonna
not
need
Let
for
me
you
get
to.
nerves.
I'm gonna need for
let
you
me
to
get
hold.
my drink together.
I'm gonna need for you to hold that thought real quick here. Hold that thought real quick here. Silent. Hold on for 1 second. Silent.
Okay.
Hold on, because the good. Hold on, what they say? Hold on, you take this comment down so I can see what his thing say.
Jordan brought his whole ass in here.
D Goodwood got something to say. D Goodwood got
Just went out. He's got like 5,000 damn names. All them multiple personalities.
What you
Hey,
got?
Hey D, what's up, D?
Hey, Anthony. Hey, Jazz.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey, Spill It Boy.
Hey, Taylor. Hey, Taylor.
Hi.
Hey, Siobhan.
What's up, Pumpkin?
Have you recovered yet, baby?
Well, yeah.
You did.
What y'all doing
I'm
on the
glad you
panel?
did.
This ain't y'all show tonight. I need y'all to get out.
I just left. I can leave again.
Don't you do that. Don't you do that.
Hey, D-Star, it took 3 of us to replace you because you wasn't here.
You right.
That part.
You right. I got you on that.
Because, I hop out in a heartbeat. I'll be like,
Just
bye, and click.
I don't
know.
know if I can take. I wanted to. I was a little nervous. See, Bay came back home tonight too, so y'all left.
Oh, that's why the hair short, huh?
It was your fault because last night you had things a stirring and purring, and then I couldn't do shit.
So, did you have any commentary you would like to add, D Goodwood, as you're coming in here? Because I know you at work and stuff.
Oh, I do.
Again, if y'all want to get the in-depth, go to Jazz channel and go ahead and hit the playback from last night's interview.
Hey, that's right. That's right.
All right. So yes,
That
let me
is
go
called
back. Let me.
before
He gonna just drop off. You know what? I'm not. You ain't getting back in no more tonight. You canceled.
That's that bad internet.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to go back up to find the spelling because I want to make sure I get the spelling right. And I had the spelling of Jasmine channel in here because I don't want to. I'm bad at people's names. Okay, here you go.
The time today.
Because I think our asses was good and late. Ain't no pot calling kettles black tonight. Hush it up, girl.
Let's see, Jasmine.
True enough was looking for y'all in the chat.
Looking for
Jasmine, there you go.
I didn't know because I didn't get okay. So let's just keep it 100. We're gonna keep it 100.
Oh God!
I thought this was about the gentleman tonight, so that's the reason why I just made my presence known. It wasn't that being shady or anything. We were just trying to give the gentleman an opportunity to.
Jasmine, I'm not talking about on the stream. I'm just talking about.
Okay. Yeah, we was hanging out in the chat.
I did see what D-Star was on looking extra scrumptious earlier too before he went to his avatar. I did see that.
You be wearing me out with that damn avatar, child.
But yeah, we just thought that we was gonna give the gentleman that, so y'all could be all marinating together, and
So did any of you have any commentary that you wanted to make in regards to
or any questions?
In regards to tonight's video?
My pussy said that she loves BL men.
Okay, yes.
And I'm sorry.
Your pussy is beautiful.
Thank you. She purrs a lot.
Amen.
Get off.
Amen. Bye, Ricky. See you
bye,
later.
Ricky. Bye, Tristan. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Ricky.
Abba has had some really good comments.
Yeah.
Abba.
So Abba said, what is your opinion, or what in your opinion are the variances between the attraction to male versus female?
I talked about that a little bit.
The variances?
Yeah, he means like some bisexual people, they're more sexually involved with a certain gender. So some
meaning you like more one than the other?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Some people are like that.
Well, do you consider to be bisexual?
No.
Yeah.
Or just curious?
I think that's just curiosity. In my opinion, I think that's just curiosity.
If they like one more than the other?
Yeah.
but then you would have connections and energy to kind of blend it together at that point. Like, because we all have a preference. If you think about it, you may necessarily, if you were looking, you may necessarily want like a tall, blah blah, dark, handsome, blah blah blah, but you actually may have a connection with a little mid-height, light skin, and
Women, you got a question?
You know what, D-Star, you is not. You know what?
All I can say is that you can find me and you can ask me that question, and I will let you know the answer to that question in private.
Boy.
I'm not gonna say that I'm bisexual because I'm not bisexual. However, I do not turn away from no kitty cat.
I was about to say
right now because I'm in a relationship. However, if I wasn't in a relationship, for me, my sexuality depends on who I would be long term with. So I can definitely be sexually active with either or, but as far as in a relationship, I see myself in a relationship with a man. And that's why I identify as gay versus bisexual. Also, even though sexually I can be on either field.
So you would say
no.
So would you say that emotionally you're emotionally gay and sexually
see this? I love the youth today. They just have like 5,000 categories, but you know what? That is a great synopsis. I am emotionally gay, however, sexually I am bi. I don't want to add that title because I got enough shit in my filing cabinet right now.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that you necessarily have to identify as it.
But you just taught me something. No, that's perfect. That's it. That's it.
Shayla, what you
She had to cool off.
Well,
so Shayla, I do have a question for Shayla. Went back to our earlier one of our earlier topics when it comes to heterosexual cisgender women. Would you say that for some women that once they find out or once they know as far as that a man has messed with another man, that 9 times out of 10 they're not wanting to, as far as be bothered or wanting to talk to that man, regardless of whether they're bisexual or not, just because of the thought that they've been with another man, even if they're not currently messing with a man. You know, as far as like, just say if there's like a cooling off period where they've not talked to a man, messed with a man in a while, but just the thought process that they've been with a man. Would you say that, that is true for some women, that's the reason why they do not want to be bothered as far as with talking to a man that's been with another man, regardless of whether they're bisexual or gay?
You know what? The last time you asked me this question, I actually thought real hard about it. And I came to the conclusion of, I say this all the time, women are very emotional.
Right.
So it's one thing for you to have been in past relationships with women, but if I feel like you've been with men too, that makes me feel a little different, because it's like, okay, if we're supposed to be together, am I going to be the only thing that you need sexually, or are you always going to want something more that I don't have and I can't offer you?
Right.
So I think that's what's running through the mind, honestly.
To piggyback off of Shayla's
response.
To piggyback off of that, so for so many years, that's exactly why I avoided dating bisexual men, because I felt like you really can't be into one person any significant amount of time, because you're going to have urges and attractions to something that I can't provide to you. Now, did I have, sexual encounters with them? Absolutely. But in a relationship, it was very challenging. And it was one of the reasons why I probably took so long to make the decision to be in the relationship that I'm in today, because of that.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that. And and that's something that I feel like is definitely a challenging thing that a lot of people feel that, as we had discussed earlier, that, it's a thing of where it's that worry of, I can't compete with something that's completely outside of my, as far as like my lane when it comes to another person. Is there gonna always be this, competition over here, that I gotta worry about? It's already, bad enough that people say they gotta worry about their own kind as far as their own sex. But then you have to go outside of that and worry about the other sex as well coming out.
Every time you go to hang out with the fellas, then they're gonna be wondering if that's the one of your pieces.
Jasmine, what's up, Jazz?
So let me ponder this question for y'all. How do you think it is for heterosexual transsexuals as myself that only date men, and then you have to figure out, because they're attracted to the appearance, because men are attracted to the look.
Fantasy.
Very visual.
So how do you think it makes us feel whenever we're sitting and we sometimes, for those of us that are not secure in our look and secure in who we are, I'll put it like that, because it's different for every person, that if he sees somebody that maybe has a butt a little bit bigger, or whatever the case may be, that they don't tip off to try to do the same thing. So it's both sides of the equation that you have to take and you have to look at. It's not just an easy answer or a broad answer that satisfies for the whole mass, because each person is individually different.
Right. And I definitely, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that, because I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things to where, it's like, I mean, the way I feel about it is that if I was, as far as a person that just was a heterosexual person, only attracted to one, as far as one thing and one thing only, I mean, and it's just me, and it's, like I said, just my opinion. I personally would not be bothered, because I feel like that whatever is going to happen is going to happen. If that person has a desire to want to do something, they're going to do it regardless anyways. So it's like, I feel like whether it's because that person likes both, or maybe just one, it's always going to be something that is going to seem or to appear shiny to that person to say, ooh, let me go and try this, or let me go and try that, because it looks tempting to that person. That's just how I feel, just based on my own experiences with people when it comes to dealing with that. Yeah, go ahead.
So let me pose this then. What about whenever you finally find someone, or you think you find someone, and you're trying to take and deal with the situation, but they can't hold on to the garbage from their past. They can't move past that past. So that means you're taking and you're screwing over someone that could potentially be there for you. Because a lot, and I hate to say it like this, a lot of the bisexual men carry a lot more baggage than anyone else, because you're still trying to take and prove who you are and haven't figured out what you want out of yourself.
Well, like Jasmine, we talked about this earlier when we were talking about some of the mental health aspects that bisexual.
But sometimes it's not even the mental health aspects of it. It's you getting
no, but it's
you
also
are.
I wasn't finished. I was saying
I'm
that.
sorry. Go ahead, baby. I apologize. Don't get me together.
We were talking about the mental health, and we were talking about us in therapy. Me and Mister were talking about our experiences with therapy, and I was saying that we also need to go to therapy to unlearn a lot of the stuff that we are holding in that is stopping us from accepting ourselves fully in the process. So,
that's why you my baby. That's why you my baby.
All that conformity shit you learned growing up, what boys are supposed to and what girls are supposed to, and it's black and white. And to be very honest with you, sexuality is never black and white. It never has been. This is the only, human beings are the only species that's tried to force that narrative.
And see, that's the reason why, I wanted, I said, as far as in terms of, you have to learn how to deal with stuff in the inner, and to like really get down to the bottom of why you do certain things, why you have certain habits. Because like you said, Jazz, I've been with people you know, and they haven't even been bisexual, but for some reason they got stuff to their past they just cannot let go of or get over because they want to hang on to it. That's why when somebody tells me just, and this may be like a little side note off topic, but when somebody tells me that they have an ex that they're still friends with, or they still, you know, have a cool relationship with, I kind of look at them sideways and I'm like, okay, first of all, how cool are y'all? Like, that's my first question, because I feel like that it's okay to be cordial towards one another, but let's be for real. If your ex calling your boo at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock a.m. in the midnight, I'm gonna look at you kind of sideways. I'm just like, why is he or she calling your phone this time of night? What I mean, what y'all got going on? What could y'all possibly have to talk about? That's just me. Like, I just feel like it's gonna always be something that is going to, as far as people have that they're dealing with, that they have to find out why is it that you're holding on to that there.
Can I play devil's advocate to that?
Yes.
I was gonna jump in there too, please.
So I'm not gonna put people's names out there because they're my friends. But there's been experiences where but child, I'm gonna ignore this question right here because it's what acting up. But what I was gonna say is sometimes we have this it's also like how when people break up and it's like if that person's your friend or so, then they start talking to your ex and how would you
Right.
feel about this? Um we have this tendency to have this thought of, oh, I had him, so he's mine. So you testing the waters with him would be disloyal to our friendship and stuff like that because we have like this ownership thing
Mm-hmm.
between the people that we were with. So
Right.
sometimes that can, when it comes to being friends with your ex,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that convolutes the relationship. Sometimes it works, and then sometimes it doesn't work because there's still sexual tension. There's still underlying feelings that weren't resolved when they did break up. So you never really know unless you talk to these people, you talk to them about their relationship. You're not going to know certain things. So I think it can work, and it
Mm-hmm.
can at the same
You
time.
can't. Gotcha.
But
And Jazz,
I've seen both ways. I've seen it both sides. That's what I'm saying.
okay, gotcha. Jazz, what you was going to say?
I was just gonna say, whenever you were speaking on being friends with someone and they're your ex and everything like that. Okay, so it, from for me, I'll just put it like that. For me, I have no problems or issues with you being friends with whoever your ex was.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is that, you know, if I'm with you and you're with me, you're not gonna take in. You're gonna respect what we have, and if you take in you, if I got to take and constantly take and figure out what you're doing or why you're talking to this person, that's insecurities on my end. And if I'm secure in what we supposed to be having, I shouldn't have to take and check you on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you were friends with this person beforehand or whatever, if you're friends with this person and y'all done had a 10-year friendship, who am I to say that who you can and cannot be friends with?
Right.
Like that's the yin and yang of a relationship. Like
Yeah,
you accept that person for whatever flaws it is. Like I'm not gonna sit up there
I
and
agree, Jazz.
you have someone texting them and they could have been an intricate part of your family for a long time. So they may have been checking on and saying, hey, I know your mom's birthday's tomorrow. Can you tell Miss Betty I said hey? You know what I'm saying? Or
Mhm.
it's not always something that's the biggest misconception. A lot of people always assumes that that person is cheating with their ex, and it's not necessarily so.
Again,
But if you're secure in what you're doing and you know that you got a relationship with this person and your foundation is strong, that's why so many people take and jump into a relationship thinking it's a relationship, but it's not. You're taking and basing what you think is on a hunch and a bunch instead of taking and getting to know this person, trying to figure out, do you have a dialect that you can actually have a conversation with this person with? But if you don't have that conversation with this person and getting to know this person, then you're going to be forever wondering what this person is really doing, because those are your own personal insecurities.
Right. Right. Exactly. I definitely agree with that there.
who was that,
And
Sailor?
And Alba, yeah, Shayla, she dropped off. I was gonna tell her because I think she normally have a little boo conversation around this time. But Alba mentioned that the competition in the mating game isn't specific to bi relationship with bi persons of the pool, or with bi persons the pool of competitors may seem a bit larger though.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, but then again, I don't agree with that because if you're secure in what you're doing, mm-hmm. and you're secure in who you are with whatever person that you're choosing to date, I don't feel like that is gender specific for one person or the next. Like you have to, with anything is a risk, and are you willing to take that risk with someone else to take and make sure that you're going to be happy in that situation?
Right.
I agree.
I definitely agree. And Mark Chung said here, because I'm gonna wrap this up shortly. He said, "Well, D-Star, what if a person wants more support and commitment over sex? Is that a turn off? Want more support and commitment over sex?" I
want to know how you balance it. How do you balance it? Like, because then it becomes if a person wants more support and commitment over sex, is that a turnoff? I think it causes long-term complications within the relationship because one of the key things in a relationship is sexual attraction and sexual energy. So if you just want commitment and support, you need to get you a good girlfriend, a good Judy. So that's the difference. I feel so. I mean, it shouldn't be all about sex.
Definitely shouldn't. I mean, sex plays a part. It definitely shouldn't be. My take on it, and this is what I was speaking on about the older guy, what I was telling y'all about as I told him. At some point, we all gonna get old one day. And Lord forbid.
Amen.
That our, whatever we had that was
never
good. It could be a good baked goods, but sometimes it may end up becoming a prune. You never know. I mean, some people still have some people still have it at 70 and 80. Some people don't. It's just the way of life. You don't never know what your body could do. Age things start happening. You start going through things.
I don't know why.
I'm just being for real. You have to find other ways to start pleasuring your partner. So that's reality.
Can you clarify what the prune is?
I'm saying that, sometimes whatever that honey bun, you could have that glazed honey bun at the beginning. Sometimes it could become a good old prune, meaning that it could be all dried up, shriveled up, looking all crushed and discombobulated.
That sounds like
like the whole life has been just sucked out of you, like just wrinkled in.
At that point, I agree. More support and commitment over sex at that point, because you're trying. At that point, you're older. You've known each other. And a lot of times when you get older like that, if you're growing old with someone who matches your energy, a lot of times you guys are just at a good place anyway. You don't need it like young rats.
Right. You may touch on each other and get excited. That may just be all you need to get you up.
I feel like some of these older folks who know they're in more of a resting place in that area want to go out here and find these fine young ones, and they know they can't keep up with their sexual energy. And then they get mad when the young ones be like, "Some daddy, I need somebody else up in here," or they got somebody else on the side. If your partner's best friend is attracted to your partner, who do you choose? If your partner's best friend is attracted to your partner, who do you choose? I just think all that shit is off the table. We don't all that too much. What's Shayla?
Okay, so I talked about this before because that has actually happened to me.
Your best friend is attracted to your partner. Your partner's best friend is attracted to you. So your partner's best friend actually wants them. First of all, resolved all that bullshit before I came into the picture, because y'all been friends longer than I've been with him. If you ain't fucked him, then don't fuck him on my time. I'm clocked in right now, bitch. So until I leave the job, you stay as the goddamn secretary and don't try to take the boss position, because you had time to apply for that position before I got here.
Period.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Shayla.
That position is full.
She felt that.
Yeah, she felt that for real.
Shayla, did you eat that whole ass?
I told y'all I put that whole ass. But this is the thing. So I couldn't. This is one thing that I missed. I missed that I didn't say the last time. I actually knew that they were attracted to each other.
Oh, well, then hell, you need to whoop your own ass.
Yeah, right.
No, but my thing is, we had a discussion about it. But before we had a discussion, they didn't tell me that they was already having relations. That's why I whooped that whole ass. Because I say, girl, that's okay. We ain't gonna be friends no more.
I would have been fighting.
You can have him. Don't disrespect me. That's why I whooped her ass. Because I'm not fighting you over him. Because number one, he's a dog ass nigga, and I told you that bullshit before. My thing was I whooped her ass because she disrespected me. That's what it was.
I'm gonna butter knife that bitch.
The principal.
Can you imagine? No, I got an even better one for you. So there was a guy that I'm
don't be trying to play one story better than the other.
Well, I'm just saying,
he's gonna over your ass.
Strange things happen in small towns. So there's a guy, and I hope the guy he ain't watching this, because I'm sure hoping to see him blast him out. But there was a guy that his cousin
get up out right now.
He walked in on his cousin having sex with his lover in their bedroom. And then they moved in together into the apartment above him.
Wait. They moved where?
They moved into the apartment above him. Above him. They moved into the apartment above him, even after the fact. So basically, it went down. They all got into it. Like, it was some, like, when I tell you major, it was like the talk of the town. Went down. Like, he walked in, they was in the bed together, you know, like, I'm telling you, it was some like, you know, I'm swinging and tearing up cars and stuff. Like, we blocking cars in, we over here breaking shit. Like, it was some serious stuff going down. And then to make it worse, they moved in together, the cousin and the man that he was with left him and moved in together into the apartment above them.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you about attacking your guest on your show? Now, you leave Star alone. You leave him alone. You let him do what the fuck he want to do. What I tell you about attacking him? You didn't have to tell us his business about him and the cousin and the upstairs apartment.
Okay.
You know he got a whole potential. You know he got a whole potential husband right here in the middle, and you done told all that man's business.
I'm just saying.
All
I'm saying is that if you get your ass whooped, if you allow shit like that to happen,
they may offer a hybrid life. You know what? Can you please highlight Abba's comment there?
To the down right here. Do you consider trans superior?
Abba is coming with some serious questions because that's kind of a pet peeve of mine.
Hold on, Savon, before you start. Listen, I love y'all, but I have got to go to bed.
I'm about to go after I get done with this. I'm going to bed because I've got to be up early again in the morning and late tomorrow. Right.
Yeah. See, take it to the ridge table.
The whole best of both worlds. I hate when people look. I don't like that.
I don't like that. That's kind of trans.
Because for most trans women, it's not the best of both worlds. Most of them actually identify fully as a woman, and that's it. You know, some versatile, some aren't. But to Abba's point, some people do view us as the
taboo.
It's very taboo
in the fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And on that note, Shayla and I, we're not going to bed together, but we're going to bed.
Yeah, I'm finna get ready to get out of here too.
Don't y'all forget to like, share, and subscribe this video, y'all. If y'all not subscribers already.
Thank you all. See you, Shayla. Thank you all for coming on. And Savon, don't forget, y'all. I'm trying to remember these dates. So I set it up here.
Write it down.
I know I gotta write it down.
I know your stuff. I got your stuff. I follow you. I know when you live. You're gonna be live Friday, I think, and Saturday. Now Saturday I won't be there, but
Yeah, I'm gonna be live Friday night at 9:30, but then I'm doing an interview with Skillet Boy at between 8 p.m. to 10, right before Savon's live. So I will be on live, y'all. Skillet Boy gonna do a one-on-one interview. That would be Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and then after that, you can go over to Savon's channel for the Social Club, where I will be on there from 10 p.m. to however long, child. Who knows? Because these things you never know. Then on Sunday, going to be doing the Cool Down with Jasmine, which is at 9 p.m. Eastern. I want to say, is that right? Did I get that right? 9 p.m. Eastern.
It is 9 p.m. your time, 8 p.m. Standard. So when you're talking your time, it's right.
Hold on, wait a minute. What Shayla said? So you asked me out on another date or not? What you talking about? I'm confused.
Who?
Who asked who on another date? Drop the name. Probably in something that D-Star said.
Oh, I think that's the one that you said that you didn't want to drop his name, but because he might be watching.
Oh, well, as far as him, child, that's long gone. That's a whole nother story. I'm gonna save it for another time because once I tell y'all the real gag behind it, y'all all gonna fall out on this live. But with that being said, thank you all for the support. Thank you all for coming on. I'm about to take my behind the bed because I gotta get up for work in the morning and be on these folks' computer and stuff. So thank y'all. I'm going to sign off. Thank you, Silent. Thank you to my panelists, Silent Artist, D-Star, hairstylist. Thank you all so much. And stay tuned for the 2-part series coming next Wednesday, June the 3rd, at the same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be up in here.
All right.
I got one thing to say. And don't forget, Zyla will be with me on Tuesday.
Yes.
Zyla will be with me on Tuesday. His personal interview with me on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
All right, then get into it. And Silent, seems that you have to, have some business to attend to. Looks like here, so I'm gonna let you get on right on to that there.
Oh no, he didn't say let's go. Like he bossing you around, like pulling you by the hand. Let's go.
Daddy has spoken.
He said, that ass.
That's some Ike Tina
what did you get? Zyla, I'm going back and I'm watching it later because I gotta see what you done said that done made Big Daddy want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't say nothing.
What you divulge on here that he didn't already know?
All right, then. Come on, Bay. Quarantine Bay 2020.
Ooh, period. Ooh, that same energy.
Yeah, you better put a stamp on it. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna end the broadcast. I'm gonna let you attend to your business clearly out here in the comments. And y'all, I will talk to y'all later. Yes, don't rush. Don't rush.
Zyla, you better quick leave room.
See y'all. See you, Anthony.